Alrighty, guys, you guys know what time it is. It's Dolo time. You're now on my time. I appreciate you guys. This is my boy Mundo right here.
What's up, man?
Thank you for having me, having on here or whatever.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, but I want to say this is probably like one of my smartest friends. He's probably like the coolest nerd ever. Like this dude hits the books. Is freaking in science and shit. Is full smart as fuck and the coolest nerd. So I want to get started. Right now, I just want to start talking shit about this guy. He's a Rams fan. He's my boy. He probably thinks I hate him, but he's just all love. I appreciate this dude. He's probably the most reasonable Rams fan. There's other Rams fans I have. He's more like.
I've been better.
Yeah, you haven't been bad though. You always are like, no, we need a better quarterback, or no, you're more understanding. You're Roth. He thinks my uncle. They're not CV and them. They're not really logic. When you lost to San Francisco, I remember you told me you're like, we lose to San Francisco, we're not gonna beat like a playoff team.
It's tough to be happy with kind of mediocre. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People might be just happy to make the playoffs.
Being
But
Seattle.
I'm thinking about that Super Bowl, man. If we lose to the Niners, if Goff's throwing 4 picks to the Dolphins, we're not making no Super Bowl. So I try to be realistic.
That's fair. I mean, I think since I started doing this podcast more, I started becoming more like realistic. Before I'll talk shit like, oh, Russell Westbrook this, like he's great. I'm like, no, I can see what people see now. People have been telling me I'm kind of like been like blinded. So now since I've been doing this, I kind of try to hold myself more accountable to actually like being realistic. Do you think?
First off, I haven't really told you in public. I've maybe texted you, but congrats on your Super Bowl win, man.
Thanks, brother.
I really didn't think that you can do it. Me and this dude went to a game last year. They played the Bucks, so 2 years ago, I guess you could say, they played the Bucks. And the Bucks sucked, but they smacked the Rams. And this dude was talking so much shit.
Jameis Winston put 55, 56?
Yeah, 55 points. He talked so much shit, and this guy right here, man, I don't want him to win because he does not stop running his mouth.
That's my biggest go-to now.
And now he has the Super Bowl win, so like nobody can tell him nothing. So don't even try to start with him no more.
Yeah, I'm like, we got that ring. Now people are gonna say it's because of Tom Brady, but our defense
I heard you bought a ring. Is that true?
Yep.
You bought the official ring?
Official, yep.
Yeah, he's gonna have all kinds of bling.
They sent me one. Because I'm a diehard Bucks fan. No, but I feel like people are like, oh, you won it because of Tom Brady. But I was like, honestly, the defense was like the big factor. I mean, I didn't think he would deserve the Super Bowl MVP. I think they just did it because it's,
Yeah.
Like I think AD should have got it instead of LeBron, but it's just a legacy thing, and they want to make him be the best player ever. I think Devin White should have got it, or even a coach, bro, because we haven't seen anyone shut down the Chiefs' offense in a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
But do you think the Matthew Stafford move is that good or bad?
Yeah, I like Stafford. I think that he's definitely going to be an improvement over Goff. I got high hopes for the Rams, but I'm also going to try to keep it realistic. We're probably going to be losing some players in free agency. And I told you earlier, too, we're losing a ton of coaches. And I feel like the Rams literally pay all their top guys so much money, so we got like a really top-heavy team. So like the guys that we draft in the late rounds and the guys that we don't pay a lot of money, they still perform for the Rams, and I feel like that's the coaching, you know what I mean? Or the scouts that scouted these guys, and we're losing all of those dudes, so it's gonna be tough.
Did you guys replace your defensive coordinator?
We got Raheem Morris from the Falcons.
From the Falcons, he's the old Bucks coach.
He's supposed to be pretty
He's
badass.
a defense coordinator.
He's a new coordinator.
He's good with hip DBs and.
What sucks though is he might be doing good, and then next year he's gonna be a head coach. So we're gonna lose him again.
Yeah.
So. I still want him to do good though.
You just lost him, offense coordinator, or no?
We lost.
Prior year.
No, yeah, prior year we lost. So we lost. A bunch of our DB coaches, all the development guys. You know what I mean? The O-line coach. We lost the linebackers coach. We lost the safeties and the DB coach. So we lost a bunch of guys. And then like our 2 top scouting guys, we lost them all. So
damn,
it's tough.
See, that's why I feel like it's kind of hard for McVay. Even though like the pressure's on him, every year he loses coaches.
Yeah.
Like
lost a ton.
Green Bay was that his coach, the offensive coordinator?
Green Bay's, yeah. And then the Chargers just got Brandon Staley.
Bengals, Zach Taylor, the quarterback coach.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you supposed to get better every year when you lose?
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard for you guys. It sucks for him being a great mind, but I think Matthew Stafford's toughness, like he can stand in the pocket, get hit. Goff was like,
he just got heart.
Yeah, he has heart. Goff, I mean, I always said this when he lost to Utah. That was the biggest game ever in his life against Utah, threw 5 picks. I mean, they were still in the game. They almost won, but if he didn't throw 5 picks, they would have won.
Yeah.
So I was never sold on him. I thought Carson Wentz was better, but he doesn't. I feel like the whole situation at Philly wasn't for him.
It's not his fault either.
And the Colts have the best line, so, I mean,
they're
about to take off. But enough about football and stuff. So I want to get into like what do you do for a living? Let them know what you do and how'd you get into it, and
all right.
let us know.
So yeah, I'm a software engineer. I got into it, when I was maybe in college. I don't know. I started being a software engineer like in 2015. I was trying to do civil engineering before that. So civil engineering is just kind of like building buildings and bridges and,
Is that like architect in a sense? Or
sort of in a sense, right? So their architecture is kind of design and then we're kind of like implementing that design. That would be a civil engineer. So I've always been told that I wanted to be a civil engineer. That's kind of because I started building Legos when I was younger. And I was like, what job is this in the future, And my mom, my dad, civil engineer. So I always thought that's what I wanted to do.
Really, as a kid, you did Legos and...
So that was my love, my passion. So I think that's how I got into this maybe mindset of, engineering, math, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was, I thought I was going to go to civil engineering. So I have a funny story that I always tell. It's not really that funny, but you're not going to laugh at it. But I was...
it's funny.
Yeah, but I was in school at Whittier College at the time, and I had goals to be a civil engineer, and I was trying to transfer to USC. And I wasn't doing as well as I thought I was going to do. And then I took one physics class, I remember, one physics course. And I got a D in that class. And I mean, that I'm pretty, my grades are good. So I never got a D before in my life. And I got it in this class. And the reason I failed this class was because I had a program in this class. And I wasn't like tech savvy. So this was like in 2015. I wasn't tech savvy.
Was blonde hair Mundo?
This is probably blonde hair Mundo, yeah. That was a phase, okay?
My bad.
No. So yeah, I just was like, I don't know, I just like was so upset that I failed this class, and I was even more upset that I failed because of this like program that I had no idea on. So then I think that summer I ended up leaving Whittier College, again, because my grades weren't that good, and I was trying to transfer to USC, and the paths were kind of getting, a little bit muddy, so basically trying to open up my options, so I went to Mount Sac. And the first thing I did at Mount Sac was I enrolled myself in a computer science class because I wanted to learn how to program. And that summer, I just like basically looked up tutorials and taught myself how to program. And then that class, I got an A in that class, and I basically just fell in love with programming. So that was like my transition now, not doing civil engineering and now just doing computer science. Computer science, programming, software engineer. When I was there, I got into robotics. I was in the robotics club, so it was like programming these robots to move, to do their whatever they're gonna do. Yeah. So I got kind of interested in that, and then for years, my dad's he works right by JPL, which is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It's a NASA center in Pasadena, so it's pretty close. So my dad works right by there, so he's always told me about JPL my whole life. So he's just told me about JPL, and I was maybe not interested. Maybe I was too young to understand it. Yeah. Maybe I wanted to be a civil engineer. They don't really have civil engineers there. So anyway, I just once I started getting into robotics and I start looking up JPL and I realized damn, they're launching Mars rovers, they're launching rockets, that's pretty cool. That's anybody's dream in a sense. Who doesn't want to work with that kind of stuff? So I started applying there as soon as I got to Mount Sac. I would apply for an internship there and then wouldn't get in. I think I applied for 3 straight years and I didn't get in any of those years. And I finally applied again and I got in. So in 2017, I became an intern at JPL. I was at Cal State Fullerton now. I was just doing, computer science, going through the motions in a sense, getting my degree. But once I got to JPL, I started realizing that the stuff that I'm learning in school, you learn how to program, but it's what am I going to do programming? Am I going to build a website? Maybe. Am I going to build an app? I don't know, Yeah. But then I go to JPL and I figure out how I'm going to apply everything that I learned to the real world in a sense, So...
Was that a tough transition, from the school and then going into JPL?
Yeah, so that was definitely pretty tough. Again, I wasn't when I grew up, I wasn't there's these, you hear all these geniuses that they were programming when they were 12. Yeah. They wrote this, app that's made millions of dollars when they were 15. Yeah. I was not like that. I really wasn't. I was pretty smart in math, I would say, but I just wasn't into computers. So as I was still learning just in general things about computers and just things about technology and just kind of being a baby in that sense, and then getting thrown into a place like JPL where that's where all these nerds exist. All those kids that you hear about building up their own computers and all those kids that you hear about literally building up airplanes in their backyard and flying to space. No, I'm just kidding. They wouldn't do that. But those
there.
are where those are where those nerds at. Those are I use that word in a good way. Nerds.
Yeah, he's not bullying nobody because
Oh
he's
yeah,
a nerd himself.
I'm a nerd
so,
too. But
yeah.
those are the cool nerds. Those are like the ones that are
official smart
Yeah.
mofos.
But
Did you feel like out of place since you like, or did you maybe get discouraged because you know you went in and you kind of basically threw you in the deep water and like swim because
Yeah.
you're really learning it? And
Yeah.
was you still learning the stuff at Cal State Fullerton as well?
mhm.
So like, how'd you?
Yeah,
feel?
so I remember my orientation. So my first day at JPL, I remember the first day, right? So just a bunch of kids, and I was there. And I remember everybody went around the room, and everybody was like, "What college did you go to? What are you studying?" And I remember they were all, I'm serious, like MIT, you know, Caltech, Berkeley, Stanford, Harvard. I'm not even joking. Like all these big names, and they got to me, and I was kind of a little bit embarrassed. Nothing to be embarrassed about Cal State Fullerton, but when you you get intimidated, you know. So
Yeah.
I was like Cal State Fullerton, and you know, I just said it, and I just was like computer science, you know. But I just right off the bat, I felt like I was kind of at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
And then also these kids, a lot of them were probably like you know, children of JPL workers or Caltech workers, which is Caltech's the campus that kind of runs JPL. They're you know, really you know, highly prestigious
school.
yeah
College.
so anyway, a lot of these kids are, you know, children of these people that have already made it in a sense, you know, so
Yeah.
they probably already got a head start.
They already got the ins in how to work and stuff like that.
So they really probably are the ones that are building computers at a very young age or learning
Yeah.
how to program at a young age because their parents taught them that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I felt like I was already at a disadvantage. But when I got there, my whole thing was that I wanted to stick around. The internship was for 10 weeks. So it was just that one summer in 2017. And I was just trying to work my butt off. And it was tough because I was learning so much. Because again, I'm learning in school still. And then so are these kids. These kids are all in school also. But I'm learning in school, just trying to learn as much as possible, and also trying to make an impact on the people that I work with, so they can kind of like, oh, this guy wants to
be here.
This guy wants to be here, and he knows his stuff. So, yeah, I always have some long nights. It was just like being in school, you know, it's just studying. If you put in the work, you're gonna learn it, you know. So, I basically bugged enough people that I was able to stick around for another, you know, 6 months or so. And
So, when you said you bugged around people, like, what'd you do? Like, hey, like,
just eager to work. Just like, you know, what can I do? What can I do? You know, I know how to do this. You know, maybe it's not enough. You know, maybe even lie about what I knew how to do.
Okay.
Because I'd be like, you know, I can do this for you. And if they're like, say like, yeah, do that for me. Then I'd be like, oh, damn it. I got to like learn how to do this tonight. Like,
Yeah.
Be like,
So
I got to
would you be
learn
on
how to.
YouTube or somebody.
Yeah, everything's on Google. Like literally everything's on Google. Like you could Google everything. So that's, I mean.
So I could Google how to build a rocket ship.
You could probably Google how to build a rocket ship, and with
Sheesh,
enough
I
hours.
wouldn't do this. We're gonna build a rocket ship and we're gonna send some Mars or whatever.
I forgot to bring my rocket.
Yeah, it's in his house. We'll go get it. It's landed on Mars one time.
But so yeah, it's just a lot of study, man. Just like anything, you put the time and the effort into it, and you're gonna learn. So, but it was tough. It was definitely tough.
And then, was there the times where you like wanted to quit, or like you felt like you weren't gonna get like the after your internship? Were you like worried about like what's gonna happen after if you don't get it? Like, did you have a plan B, or were you all in? Like, no, I'm gonna come here, finish my 10 weeks, and they're gonna keep me. There's no other option.
Yeah.
I'm not going back to Subway or whatever it was. Was that the mindset?
Yeah. So I mean, once I got in, I mean, the goal was to stick around, and I think, I mean, just even telling like my family, my friends, like I was at JPL, and then to potentially, you know, the internship to end, and then me to leave, and then maybe I don't work at a place like JPL. You know what I mean? Maybe that was just pressure I put on myself. But when I was in there, you know, I really didn't have a backup plan. I didn't know what I was gonna do after the fact. You know what I mean? If I had to work, you know, at Subway where I was working at before, I would have went back there. I would have done it, but it wasn't on my mindset. But I had those kind of fears in a sense that I might kind of fall back down to earth, because that was like when I got that internship, I was like sky high for a minute, and I was just so happy, and I was like, you know, like I said, my dad, he knows, he knew a lot of people from JPL, so he would always talk to these people. So that's he maybe envisioned me to have that, you know, so he kind of always, I feel like I made him proud when I was there. So that was always one of the things I wanted.
Still making him proud though.
Yeah, making him proud still. Yeah. But I was always one of the things I wanted to keep. I wanted to like be like, I'm here, like you helped me get here in a sense, because he's the one that opened my eyes, and you know, that's when I started kind of learning about that stuff, and I did it, and I want to like stick here now, not just to make him proud, but I think that's part of it too, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Do Do you
Definitely
see?
helped.
I mean, do you just be here for the rest of your life, or is there like any?
Yeah, so I mean, that really explains. So a little bit of what I do. I write ground support software. So basically, what that means is somebody's building, a rover, or somebody's building a satellite, or somebody's building something that just goes to space, right? They have to build it on the ground. They have all these different parts. For the rover, you have like somebody working on one specific laser that does this thing. Somebody's working on the camera for the rover. Somebody's working on the robotic arm. Somebody's working on another piece of this.
Yeah.
And they're all different components. So it's like very like, there's not one person that's just like builds the entire
whole thing
rover.
is a whole-
It's like
Is
whole.
it like a whole section, a whole unit,
like-
or?
Yeah. So JPL's 7,000 people
Oh shit.
that work at JPL, and I would say probably about 3,000 of them are working solely on that rover, different parts. 3,000, I would
Like
probably say.
little meniscus things,
Just
like
a little
super
bit,
small.
yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
So again, what I do is maybe I'll get one little piece of that, right, where it's just like just a circuit board that controls the robotic arm, maybe, right? So anyway, they have that circuit board, and that's considered hardware. And then basically what I do is I write code, or I write software that works with that hardware, that can basically say like maybe move the robotic arm up and down, or move this up and down, So I would basically write a program, and then I was able to test their hardware to make sure it works fine. Maybe a little bit confusing. Ask questions.
No. So you mean like the hardware's for it to work,
Yeah, so the hardware is what's actually going to be at space,
to program
right?
it?
So-
When you say hardware, is it the
The electronics, like the circuit boards.
okay? That's
I-
controlling the arm. That's in the arm. Like
Yeah,
the whole-
basically, right?
okay.
So like the arm is built up with different
Pieces and parts.
but it's basically controlled by this one little maybe chip on the board, or one little piece of the
The
board.
chip is what you program.
So I basically program the chip, and I basically would. And sorry, I should take a step back. I'm only using the rover as a reference. I actually never worked in the Mars rover, unfortunately, but this is just a reference. Kind of trying to explain what I do. That might make it easier for everyone to
Easier,
understand.
okay.
But anyway, so back to the rover arm. This example we're using. So yes, you might have this little piece of this board that actually controls this arm, and I would actually write code to this
Like
board.
move up and down. Got it.
Say move up and down, and I would have to write again for this robotic arm, move up and down, left and right, pick something up, this and this, whatever movements that they're actually going to
Yeah.
do in space. I got to verify that it works on the ground.
Before
so
you send it.
my code will actually verify it on the ground again before they send it,
Yeah.
and then eventually somebody writes flight software, some ground software. Somebody would write flight software that actually would run when they go to space. Right?
So since you you basically program the arm. There's other people doing the same thing you're doing for each part of the
Mhm.
whole thing.
Yeah, so everybody does. Yeah, everybody has. Again, a lot of the groups are somewhat similar. They might have a different board that does a different thing,
Uh-huh.
but in a sense, everybody's working on a piece of hardware, which is the circuit board of the.
So the circuit board is basically what's like kind of in the computer, the thing in the computer.
Yeah,
that
if you're
keeps
kind of
it-
familiar, yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like that green board with all
That
the little
silver-
chips on it
yeah,
and everything.
okay.
So again, somebody would build that board, and it would look like literally like a piece of. Just
Square
like a
with
square.
a bunch of little
A
things.
bunch
on
of little chips, and like, what
Yeah.
the heck does that do? Well, it has like a designated task. Like,
Yeah.
I worked on another project where that board actually controlled the laser. Like, it controlled the laser, and then it also stabilized the temperature of the laser. And it's just a board. You know what I mean? How did that person design that board to do that? I don't know.
it. You just did the coding.
But I would, yeah. Again, it's supposed to do all this stuff, so I wrote the code that can make sure that if I click this button, that this happens. If I push that button, this happens.
And then do you guys have to like put up like a what do I say, like prevent people from hacking it? Like, do you have to know how to like put like a I don't know. I was gonna say ad blocker, but like, what
a
do you
firewall or
firewall or
something?
something like that? Do you have to do that too as well, or is
Yes.
that someone else? That's not you. You don't do that, or
Yeah, so for that kind of stuff, again, it's not. So what I did wasn't like, it wasn't super. I'm not gonna say it wasn't super important, but it wasn't as. I
they
can't
can
think of the
hack
word.
it.
Yeah, it wasn't
Make
as
it-
just important as like the flight software, right? So the flight software is what's gonna get sent to space, right? So you don't want somebody to hack it while it's in space,
And
right?
then
So when I was doing my code, I wasn't worried about like somebody hacking into my code. I
Okay.
wasn't. I would always test on a computer, and that computer was always behind some firewall. But I wasn't really a part of whoever set that computer
Yeah,
up.
gotcha.
But somebody at JPL set up like the make sure that nobody hacks his computer because we don't want to somebody to mess
Yeah.
up this thing while we're all sleeping at night, right?
That's often the like the other like
Mhm.
Russia and China be hacking stuff. So I
Yeah.
listened to a Joe Rogan podcast and there's some CIA dude was talking about how like
Yeah.
Russia did. I couldn't understand what they're saying, but they did something, and then China's trying to do it, and like it's
Yeah.
crazy how it's so easy.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, they said like we're doing the same thing too, so it's
Mhm.
like they make
Yeah.
it seem like a big deal, but we're doing it too as well.
Yeah, it's super easy to. I mean, that stuff happens everywhere, and even at JPL, right? I mean, JPL for the most part, we have like this bubble around us that we don't see, which is like team of cybersecurity engineers to protect us from outside threats, right? So like maybe somebody's trying to hack into my computer at work or my neighbor's computer.
Do they have a? Do you have a firewall on your phone, or how's that go? Like, do you go in there? Do they take your phone, or like what is it? Like,
Yeah, so for my phone, my personal phone, when I first got to JPL, I can use it at JPL, but I can never log into like JPL applications or their website or do anything through there. And then like my personal computer also, but now they gave us like JPL issued computers that has all that software on there. Again, I don't really know exactly what it is, but even my JPL phone, they have.
Oh, you got two phones?
Yeah, I got two phones. Don't tell
Don't
tell Chris. Don't tell Chris. I'm just kidding.
You gotta come home and beat his ass. Yeah, that's cool. So it's like basically protected.
Yeah, it has something on there that, again, it's supposed to be protected. But I mean, even those things, right? One of the things that happens that everybody that works in an office or something that works in this kind of setting, they'll probably get these, even personal emails. You get these emails that you're like, what the heck is this? And you click on the link and
Yeah.
all your shit's gone. They hacked you, right? Like maybe they got into your account or something, right? So even at JPL, we get those all the time. Even though we're already behind so many walls that of protection, it still somehow gets
Yeah.
through. And there's been times and stories where people have clicked that link and now the whole entire lab is compromised, and it's like, jeez, like imagine being that guy.
Yeah. It's like basically poison.
And it's kind of funny too, because like that happens sometimes, and sometimes JPL does it on like their own
on purpose.
to see like who would click the link, right? It's like just to, like they'll do a fake one and
Bait.
see who clicks the link. Yeah, bait. And then like they'll be like maybe like the 60-year-old guy that's been there for so long is like, oh, let me empty the storage on my email account, 'cause that's what it says on there. He like clicks to empty it, and it's like boom, got you.
You get fired. Or?
And then they'll like bring him into the office and be like, come on, man, you can't keep clicking the links. And sometimes people are like repeat offenders, like
shit.
you're not gonna learn, It's just
Yeah.
kind of funny. I remember a couple of guys that I would talk to at JPL. I knew that they got in trouble like that, and I would kind of laugh at them because it's like, come on, man, I saw right through that email. But it's like they're maybe a little bit older, maybe they don't notice it,
It's like the shit that we get like the emails like, oh, you're what is it? Not Postmates. What's the app where you can buy stuff? PayPal.
PayPal.
Oh, your PayPal. I was like, I don't even use PayPal.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they get a text like your package is here. You click the link. I was like, I don't even order anything, bro. Like,
Yeah, so it's stuff like that, right? So I mean, even we can kind of see that,
Yeah.
or it's like the guy's calling you and saying like, your car insurance is expired.
Bro, I get that one every single day, like twice. I'm like,
They only do it because people literally give them all their information on the phone. You know what I mean? So
I
they
mean,
get
it
somebody.
sucks because it's probably that it does work for the older people.
Yeah.
Like I had an old coworker where somebody called his grandparents and said like his son's their grandson, my coworker, was in jail, so you need to send like $11,000 or $1,100, whatever it was, and they sent it.
So crazy. It sucks.
And it's like it sucks that they take advantage of these old
Mhm.
people. I'm gonna check this camera. 'Cause I don't want to. I'm gonna make sure it's recording.
Oh yeah,
My
that
bad.
happened last week. I heard.
It happened with Chuck, so it's been bothering me. All right, we good.
Yeah, so good.
Bro, the whole time I was sitting there, I was like, did I click it? That's my biggest fear now, because I've never done that in my when I started recording, and then
Yeah.
we had a whole hour and just smooth. Didn't record, bro. So
That
I was like,
sucks.
we're having some gems right here talking, and if it didn't record, I'm sad. Sorry about that. But
Cool.
so explain what JPL is. Is it NASA? Is it not NASA?
Yeah. So JPL is one of 10 NASA centers in the country. So the one thing about JPL, which I was trying to explain to this guy before, is JPL is the only NASA center that basically isn't government controlled. Meaning all the workers at JPL are actually not NASA workers or government workers, but we're actually Caltech workers. I mentioned that campus that basically operates JPL. I'm not exactly sure.
So what Caltech owns JPL?
Caltech
The government doesn't own you
operates
guys.
JPL. The government owns all the property and it owns a lot of the equipment in there. It's such a weird thing, but Caltech operates JPL, meaning they put people and they hire people to actually work there.
Right there.
And they pay us all. So I'm technically a Caltech worker, not a government worker or a NASA worker.
These
It's
are
just a little bit weird.
contractors.
Yeah, contractors for NASA basically.
NASA.
But that's the one
Doc.
one NASA center that's not a NASA center. It's really weird. It's not that important though. We think we're,
Not a NASA center like controlled by the government in a sense, or
yeah, again.
owned by the government, or not
Owned-
government workers in a sense.
Yeah, we're just not government workers.
Yeah, that sucks, bro.
But the one thing about that, and I was kind of mentioning this before too, is so with that being said, all the other NASA centers, they all basically get NASA contracts. So, whoever is in charge of NASA, they decided they want to do this project, or they want to launch this rover or do that.
Yeah.
Those are all NASA projects, and basically they give them out to all the NASA centers. So pretty much all those projects are pretty much like public forum. You can find out information. You can Google it.
Go on Google and look it up.
You can always talk about those things without being
Get in
worried
trouble.
about getting in trouble. But since JPL is kind of this weird little not NASA center, we get like 75% of our not NASA contracts, and then like 15 or 25% of contracts from like outside agencies. So we might get like military or DoD or just these other like just different obscure
But for the government,
agencies.
still.
For the government, yeah. Never for like a
Russia or anything like that.
some rich dude that wants to just
Or
like
anything,
build a
yeah.
weapon. Yeah, not Russia.
Has
but
to be have a government.
government task. But I mean, if you start building stuff for the military, things can get a little bit sketchy, So, and then with that being said, those projects are always like classified,
Can't
or
talk about
sometimes
it.
like highly classified. So there's like different
So
levels.
if it's classified, you can talk about it.
So there's actually like 3 different levels. I think it's. I'm actually not sure. So it's like 3 different levels. Like confidential, classified, and then highly classified. I would say highly classified is probably like you cannot say anything, or they'll
They'll be
like
knocking on your door.
they'll be knocking on your door, put a bag over your head, take you to the desert,
desert.
and then like
This is the last time we see Mundo.
That might be the last time. And I would say there's probably just different information they'll leak out or not. You know what I mean? So anyway, when I first got to JPL, the first project I was on, just at a random, was this highly classified project. So it was like the weirdest thing, right? They're like, Mundo, do this, build this board that does this laser to make it do this and this and this, like just whatever task. And then you kind of want to ask questions, like naturally you just want to ask questions like,
What's this for?
What's this for? Like, what is the system? What is the instrument? Where is this going? When's it going to be launched? And like, you kind of just get like blank stares in a sense, but you usually get blank stares because everybody working on that project doesn't really know what it's for, or they're not supposed to know.
Yeah.
And then eventually, people that are high enough up, they do know. So eventually you start to interact with these people.
Yeah. So how does it work? Like you're doing something you don't know what it's for.
It's weird.
Is it just keep you like being curious or like?
Yeah, I mean, naturally you're just curious, right? You're just always like, kind of like trying to put the pieces together
Are
in
you
your
guessing?
head.
Like,
Yeah.
Did you have any guesses what it was for?
So again, I feel like maybe I just didn't have that sort of like
Knowledge
information. Yeah, I didn't have that knowledge and couldn't even really infer what we were doing. But some of the younger guys that I knew that are kind of again just curious and just they're just very curious. So they were basically picking these pieces together, and they had a pretty good idea. And I probably can't say what it is. They had a pretty good idea of what this was.
That was close.
And then even some of them even moved on kind of the next steps, right? So we're all building these separate components, and then eventually you deliver your component, and then the next team puts components together, and then you keep kind of going up the level,
To the
right?
top till it's done.
So I was basically at this where I handed it off, and I was cleaning my hands of the project, and I have no idea, you know what I mean? But like some guys actually moved on, and they really can't say they want to say it, but they like.
Also, people you're with at the low level moved on, and they're like wanted to tell you like, hey, bro, I know what it
Like,
is.
kind of giving you hints in a sense too, but it's
hey,
just
ask
like,
me about this, and then also, and then.
yeah. So anyway, yeah. But some of these things are highly classified. You're not supposed to talk about it, so I won't go into further
I don't
details.
want you to get in trouble.
I'm not gonna get in trouble, but I mean, they're already listening to my phone, so they already got me.
Yeah, you're already out the door waiting for him to
So
end this interview.
but
What would
yeah.
you say is like your favorite project? Like if you could talk about any like one of your projects you could talk about.
So my personal projects, I haven't worked on that many. So I've only worked on that one project. I guess like a big role in that project was that last one I did, which is.
How long does how long does the project last for? Years, months? Do you have a time like they want it finished by this time?
Yeah, so typically like the lifespan of a project, so they'll do like 10 years where they're like researching and they're trying to see if it's even possible to launch this thing
10
in space.
years?
They'll design everything, and it's just all theory, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's really getting put in motion yet. and then they'll finally like be like, now we have a proposal. They'll go and they'll give their proposal to NASA. They'll say this is what we're gonna do, and NASA's like, yep, we're gonna take it. NASA funds them. Now they got the funds to do this project for maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
So like the last project, I think that was going on. I mean, it's been going on for like, because even like the technology is just kind of reused and built on.
I was gonna ask because like if they do research in 10 years, don't you think when they first started, towards the end of the 10 years, don't you think technology is different? So would they have to like kind of adapt, or like would they have to do research again? Like
so again, so they might have built the same instrument 20 years ago, and then new information, new technology, new research came out. So 5 years later, they build a better version. And it kind of keeps going that way, right?
So it's recycle the same thing over.
Yeah, again, just to get better technology, right? But yeah, so again, that project's been around for a couple of years. I don't know. Best project is the question?
Yeah, it was like, or your favorite
project? Yeah. So the project I'm working on now, this is a NASA project, so I can talk about it.
You can?
It's a cool project. It's kind of cool, I guess, but it's
cool for all the JPL work.
Yeah, it just seems very insignificant in our world. I feel like there's so many things going on, but we're literally putting a satellite in space that has a telescope on it, so we can look at clouds of other planets. It's like, why are we interested in that when we have people dying of coronavirus and cancer? I'm not gonna say anything because they're paying me, but it's just like, it's just crazy.
It's something that. So it's like, what is it for? Like to see if you could have other life on there.
So
live there, or.
Yeah. So the big search right now is not so much that we're gonna move to another planet, but you're always interested in finding extraterrestrial life. So finding life on other planets, right? And we already know that it's really hard for life to basically form without water. That's like the number one thing, right? Yeah. Water. And then also too, if you're too close to the sun, it's just too hot for life to exist. If you're too far away from the sun, it's too cold for life to exist. So we're kind of in this perfect spot, right? The planet Earth is in this perfect spot where you're just hot enough and just cold enough to sustain life, and you also have water. We have life. So now we're very interested in looking at other planets, looking at other suns and other galaxies, and being like, if we're looking at that sun and we're trying to find that planet that's kind of right in that habitable zone, that might be potentially life on that planet, right? So anyway, so what this new project is called, it's called WFIRST, and then JPL's actual part is called the coronagraph instrument.
Corona? Why did they do that?
Yeah, that was actually before the coronavirus. Coronagraph instrument. Yeah, it's funny. I just thought about that right now.
I was like, what?
So anyway, this instrument, its whole purpose is to basically look at one of those planets kind of in that habitable zone.
Yeah.
And then now look at the atmosphere of that planet.
So what planet would it?
I couldn't tell you what planets, but just looking at galaxies that are super far away. And then, again, any sort of planet that might be rotating around the sun in that habitable zone, we're going to take a look at it, inspect it with this instrument, and then just look at the atmosphere to find out whatever information that's going to help us determine if maybe there's life on there or not.
Okay. I have a question. So, you know how they say Mars might be the place we can live on? How is it like you can get a whatever that rover is called, get on there and then it lands and you like drive it on there? Like how do they do that? Like I thought if you go on a planet, like you go to Earth, you don't just land on a rock and you drive it, like you come into Earth. So how is someone gonna live on there? Like are they gonna be living in space on top of this rock? Or are they going like I don't understand how it works. Like how we go on Earth, we go inside Earth. When they go to Mars, they land on a piece of rock. Like
well, yeah, I mean they land on. So what do you mean inside Earth exactly?
Like so, say if you're in space, you come down, you come into Earth. You don't land on a freaking rock and you're just like riding the rover around. Well, or are you entering an atmosphere like Mars?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I mean all these planets have their own atmospheres.
Okay,
so like Earth, right? You land. This is a big rock we're on.
Yeah.
And Mars doesn't look like this because we built all this stuff on top.
Yeah.
So over there, in a sense, we go through the atmosphere, and then we land on Mars.
And then just
nothing's there.
So, because I've never seen it like, whenever I see it, just like on rocks. So I'm always like, you don't ever see them going through the atmosphere.
So that's a good question though. But there is atmospheres over there. But so one of the main things again with this Mars rover, and why you always see like the crazy people cheering. I think you've maybe seen those videos online when they finally land that rover. It's so important because the difference with Mars atmosphere and Earth's atmosphere is that Mars atmosphere is super thin. It just for whatever reason, it's a lot thinner than our atmosphere. So when you were to fall in our atmosphere, you could probably ride a parachute from the top of the atmosphere down because there's enough air resistance to kind of keep you going, not going down too fast. Mars Air is so thin that you couldn't just have a parachute and you couldn't come down. You would destroy the whole rover.
You just fall and break.
So yeah, so you would just fall and break. So JPL basically invented this like super crazy maneuver.
Oh, so JPL did the rover?
Yeah, JPL's
shit.
so JPL's NASA's Center for Robotic Exploration. That's like their title. So typically, all the rovers have been built at JPL. Like that's
Have
JPL.
you seen one?
Yeah,
In the
I've
lab?
seen them.
Is it crazy?
They're pretty crazy. They're huge. They're like,
Futuristic or?
yeah, I mean they're pretty. You guys gotta Google it if you haven't. JPL on Instagram. Let's see pictures of them. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. And they're huge. They're like the size of SUVs.
Oh shit.
Um,
The motherfucker looks so small.
Oh, yeah, they're huge.
Shit, that's crazy.
they're like 2 tons. They're like they're big. They're huge things.
So how'd they stop it from just crashing?
So yeah, a while back when the Mars rovers first used to land on there, they used to be a little bit smaller and lighter. So what they would actually do is when it finally enters the atmosphere, they would launch a parachute. It would probably slow them down from like, I don't know, I just thrown a number out there, like 30,000 miles per hour, which is what's traveling through space. It enters the atmosphere and that parachute maybe slows them down to like 20 miles an hour or even less than that. So the parachute works pretty well for the smaller ones. And then basically what it used to do is after it got close enough to the ground, it would just deploy all these airbags around the rover, and then it would just drop it, and the rover would bounce till it finally settled, and then it would open up, and the rover would roll out.
Oh shit.
That was pretty cool. But now the rovers are a lot bigger, so they can't do that anymore because the airbags would pop, or there was just too much
So what
movement
do
in
they
there.
do now?
So now they have the same parachute, still traveling through space like at 30,000 miles an hour, the parachute, and then the parachute drops off, and they have what's called a sky crane. So basically just like jets that like basically keep it up, and the jets go up, and the rover comes down literally on a crane, and then the rover finally lands on the ground, and the crane will basically let go of the cords that are holding it, and then fly off, and then they go explode somewhere else so it doesn't hurt the rover. But it's like this super convoluted process that seemed like it was not going to happen. Like, who thought of that? Some crazy scientist thought of that idea, and then it worked. So this is the second time that JPL has used
The crane thing?
that maneuver. Yeah, JPL launched Curiosity rover like in 2011, 2013, and this is the second rover, 2020, using that same maneuver.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's pretty intense stuff. If you haven't looked at it, it's called 7 Minutes of Terror. If you look that on Google, you'll see a video of kind of just a recreation of what it does, and just be like, how the heck did they even engineer this? Who thought of this? But it's landed 2 rovers on Mars, so.
Do the rovers just stay there? Or
Um,
do you pick them up?
no, the rovers are there for life.
Until we get on Mars and, hey, what's up, man? How you been?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the rovers will just roll around. They drive super slow, and they just collect
Are they gonna run
data.
out gas or?
Solar panels usually.
solar panels?
Yeah, they actually have like uranium or something actually powering them, but then they basically get their energy from the sun.
Oh, so they're just chilling.
They're just chilling there. Yep.
Damn. So the other thing I want to talk about, he's really smart with the stocks and stuff. So I want him, before we start talking about stocks, I'm gonna ask him about like the GameStop and Bitcoin, because that's like the big thing that's going on.
Yeah. So maybe we'll talk. We can talk a little bit after the fact.
Go stock. Okay.
Yeah.
let's
So
do stocks.
so the transition into stocks. So number one, I got into stocks like just this past year. So I'm definitely not an expert by any means.
But I trust him because it's probably one of my smartest friends. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
listen to him. He tells me to buy this, I'm gonna buy this, or whatever it is. So
So stocks. Again, I got into them like a year ago. I had finally paid off all my credit card debt. I had finally, I still have student loans, but I had a little bit of money that I was just throwing to a savings account. And I was looking it up, and I always drive around like, the nice houses in Pasadena or San Marino or La Cañada where JPL's at. And man, these houses are so nice. I'm thinking like, what do these people do for a living? What do these people do for a living? Like, they're not all NFL
Business
players
or
and
whatever.
baseball players and movie stars. They can't be, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And then, I don't know if that's how they all get rich, but I feel like a lot of them basically make a good amount of money at whatever job they do, and then they invest it, right? You know? They basically grow their money a lot more than a savings account can grow your money, right? Because a savings account, you basically throw your money in there, and it maybe, if you're lucky, your savings might accrue like 1% a year. They might give you that. But the stock market can grow that a lot faster, So yeah, I got into stocks doing that, and then just maybe advice or how I got into
No,
it?
yeah, that's what I said. I was going to ask for advice or like what's the best way, baby steps for someone? Because you don't want to go in there and start investing your money in stuff you don't know. Is the
Yeah.
best thing to do is research or?
Yeah, so and again, when I first got into stocks, I got into the stocks with the mentality that I think most people are getting into stocks right now are. They're seeing people making all this money. On Twitter, and they want to get a piece of that, right? They want to, they want to just get money. That's the whole thing. So when I first got into stocks, I was trying to get money. So when I first got into stocks, that first week I remember I put my money in there and I bought some stuff, not really sure what I was doing. And I think that next 2 days, my money went so high, I was like, this is easy. Like, this is so easy. Like, I'm going to get rich off of this. You're like, why doesn't everybody do this? Because I'm going to get rich. Me and my friend Chuck, who actually we talked to last week, Soto talked to him last week. Me and him, we got into this together. We were like, man, this is so easy. They're going to be rich. And I was telling my family, like, I literally put, I don't know, a couple $100 on here, and it's already, like, tripled in value. Like, I'm going to keep that money. And it's like, when are you going to sell it? I'm like, I'm going to keep it in there forever. It's like, stocks are so low right now that when it goes up, I'm going to be rich. That's what I thought, right? It wasn't that easy, turns out. A couple weeks after that,
it dropped.
Took a dump. Now I was in the hole, and then for like a couple months, I was just trying to get myself out of the hole, waiting for this thing to come back up,
So when it comes up, is that when you sell it?
Yeah, so, I can kind of maybe explain that too. I'm going to talk a little bit more too real quick about this.
Got you.
Just so I don't want to be too all over the place.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to, whenever I talk about stocks, I can talk for hours. So if you have questions, please ask me because I will talk your head off.
Twitter or whatever, his social, we'll tell us something at the end, but go ahead, sorry.
I talk your head off. So I'm trying to keep it concise so you guys don't listen to me for too long. But yeah, so typically, again, just stocks in general. The first question you got to ask yourself is why you're getting into stocks. If you're trying to get into stocks because you're trying to get rich today or tomorrow, that's not the answer.
Yeah.
If you are just trying to make money really quick, not the answer in general. You got to think about it. When you put money into stocks, it's like putting money into your savings account. You're not supposed to touch it, right? The goal of stocks is to basically stay in there for a long time so that, in 10, 20, 30 years, that money has really grown and you finally, the money that little bit of money you could have is a lot bigger now, So you can't, I would just highly recommend anybody going into stocks today that if it's money that you need, don't put it in there because you don't know what's going to happen, Most likely, you're not going to lose all of it, but there's a chance that you lose a good chunk of it if you buy the wrong things, you make the wrong decisions. But you just want to make sure that it's not like, if you're making $1,000 a paycheck and you need $1,000 for all your bills and you're trying to like throw your money in there real quick to make it $1,500. That's a bad plan, you know what I mean?
Idea.
If you have credit card debt, pay that off first because credit card debt usually accrues like at a 20% interest rate or even a 30% interest rate. So if you want to put money in stocks, you got to make sure you make more than that, which is a lot of pressure. So I would recommend pay off your credit cards first or all of your high interest debt, and then get into stocks if you have money to save, if you have money to put away that you really don't need today. But yeah, so just some stuff about investing that I've learned. And again, I'm not a professional, and there's probably people out there that know more than I do.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to listen to these people. I'm trying to get their information and now trying to give it to you guys.
Yeah.
But there's like 3 different types of trading or investing. The first one is long-term investing. So like Warren Buffett, the richest guy ever, that dude's a long-term investor, bought his first stocks at 10 years old. And he's basically bought these companies and he's kept those companies for his whole life, and now he makes billions and billions of dollars. He was pretty lucky in the sense that the companies that he bought just exploded, you know what I mean? So they were just like, he bought Apple when Apple was nothing. How are you supposed to get every company right like that? You know what I mean?
Luck of the draw.
Luck of the draw. So yeah, there's long-term investing, which again, you throw your money in there and you're really not going to see like substantial gains for at least 10 to 20 to 30 years, right? Yeah. So put it in there today when you're 60, maybe you can cash it out. And then just as a whole, the market typically, and I'm throwing numbers out there. If you have questions, please ask, you too.
Yep.
Throwing money, just numbers out there. But like typically, if you were to throw your money into like long-term investing, stocks typically, or the market typically like accrues 8 to 12% a year. So you can maybe on average, right? So some years it might be 40%, some years it might be 0%, might be -%. So you can assume like when you do long-term investing, you're on average gonna make about 8 to 12% a year, So not a not a bad choice there. The only thing right now is if you were to try to get into long-term investing today, the markets are at all-time highs. A year ago in March, it was really low. That was kind of the time to get in for long-term.
Yeah.
Right now it's so high that it's kind of hard to say that I'm going to buy it today and expect it to keep going up for 30 years.
Because it's in the drop usually, right? It's like a cycle, no?
Yeah, typically things don't go up forever. It's not sustainable, you know. Things always correct themselves. So they've always been talking about a market correction that we're going to taper off again because we went up so high so fast and things aren't really worth that much money. I don't know when it's going to happen. I'm not trying to predict anything.
Yeah.
But it's just tough to say that you can expect all these really high price stocks to keep going up for 30 years and call that a good investment.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing about long-term investing that's kind of like, it's maybe a little bit too late for that today. Eventually there's going to be a time where you can buy again.
When it drops down.
But yeah, so that's long-term investing. And then there's day trading.
Day trading.
I think maybe you've heard day trading, or people that know about stocks or that are interested probably have heard day trading. So day trading is, again, making a bunch of trades in a day, cashing it out that day, and then you make some money, that you make a profit, and then you put that into the next day, you know?
Yeah.
A couple things with day trading. Number one, it's pretty risky because things move so fast. Number two, a lot of the gains on stocks and just in general in the market actually happen overnight. And you got to think like the stock market's open 6.5 hours a day, and there's 17.5 other hours of the day where there's like headlines and, you know, just news in general that happens that make these stocks want to jump, you know?
Yeah.
So you're taking your money out every day, you're kind of missing all the gains that you'd make overnight, you know? And also losses, but a lot of gains happen overnight. And then also the thing with day trading too, you need to basically not have a job. Like, it has to be your job, right? You can't
have to put the time in to do it.
You got to be working from 6:30 a.m., which is the time the market opens, till
Is
1.
it Eastern or?
Yeah, so it's 9:30 Eastern.
Oh no, so 6:30 over here.
6:30 over here.
Not over there.
And then at 1 p.m. and our time is when the market closes. So you got to be totally involved, which all of us have other jobs. You know what I mean? So it's tough. And then also too, you need $25,000 in your account to be an official day trader. The feds made that a rule, so you can't trade daily like that without $25,000 in your account, which a lot of people don't have, you know? At least beginning traders don't have, right?
They just added that, or?
That's always been a rule. I don't know why. They're trying to protect us, right? They're always trying to protect us, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. So you get flagged for that. There's a couple of times where they give you like 4 day trades, right? Where I was trying to do it early on, so I was like buying and selling really quick because I didn't know what I was doing, and I got flagged, and they like almost suspended my account. So
oh shit,
it's kind of serious. I mean, it's ridiculous because it's like it's our money. We should be able to do what we want to do, even if we want to be really risky. We should do what we want to do.
Yeah.
But they
trying to
protect us, you know. And then so that's day trading, and then there's long-term investing, and then the other thing is swing trading. So swing trading, you can imagine, is a little bit in the middle of the two, right? The whole goal with swing trading is basically these stocks don't just go straight up. Over time, they kind of go like this, right?
Yeah.
Some stocks go down, but they have these oscillations, right? Some stocks go, flat, but they oscillate flat. So the whole goal of swing trading is really trying to like maximize the money you can make in one of these swings, right? Like if you're long-term investing, you can imagine if a stock goes like this, you're going to invest here, it's going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, and by the end of it, you might have the same amount of money. You know what I mean? You haven't gained anything. Day trading, you might, get the ups, you might get the downs, who knows, Swing trading, what you're trying to do is you're trying to maximize that when this goes like this, you get all that gains, and it comes back down, you don't lose anything, right?
So you pull out?
You pull out before that happens. And then with swing trading, so that's what I do swing trading. So with swing trading, you really have to, you can't just kind of guess with these stocks. You can't see a price and be like, that looks like a cheap price, I'm going to get in.
Yeah.
Because then it might go down, You can't just be like, it's kind of expensive, I'm going to get out now, You've got to actually look at the charts. So I always say look at the charts to my friends that ask questions about it. If you ever seen like those stock market charts, you've probably seen those little things.
Yeah.
They look intimidating.
Plus and minus shit, like the plus and minus stuff like that.
Yeah, they call it like candlesticks, so they do those things. Those look intimidating, but they're not, Maybe you need someone to kind of walk you through it a little bit if you're interested. Let me know, I'm always willing.
Is there apps for this, or?
Yeah, so there's different like brokerages. I have TD Ameritrade, and they have an app that actually has all these price charts, they're called. So for a different stock, they might show a chart for it, right? Which is their prices. That's shows like their price went up and down. Maybe gotta drink some water.
Yeah, he gives a little calm mouth, dry throat.
Just talk.
So we're here for, baby.
Yeah. So, again, I always, I look at these price charts, right? So,
Yeah.
again, I didn't make this stuff up. I've been, listening to podcasts, on, watching YouTube videos. There's this one guy called Ryan Mallory. Shout out Ryan Mallory. He has a podcast on Apple Podcasts called Swing Trade in the Stock Market. So I learned a lot of stuff from him. And what really kind of gravitated me toward this guy is I would just listen to his podcast. And number one, they're super informal. So like if you had no knowledge of what's going on, you can go in there and pretty much listen to his stuff.
Yeah.
But he would always basically share experiences and all this stuff. And he would just basically say all the things that were on his show. I'm like, man, that happened to me. Like in the short period of time I was trading, like that happened to me. Like I was up big and I lost my money, or just different experiences, and it really made me feel like this guy probably knows what he's talking about,
Yeah.
So I kind of like totally bought into what he was saying and did my own research a little bit. And again, it's not like confusing stuff. I mean, if you put in the research on anything, you're gonna learn how to do it.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a math wizard. You don't need to be anything. If you care about your money and you want to be safe, then you should try to put a little bit of effort into putting it into the stock market, right? Because that's the thing too, is the stock market's not easy. You can't just put your money in there and expect it to go big, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't see everybody making money and you throw your money in there and hope it makes money.
Yeah.
That a lot of times if you kind of blindly buy a stock and hope it goes up, it's like gambling. Like that's literally
Take
like
a
going to
risk,
Vegas, right? It's like, I mean, there's nothing else to say other than it's basically gambling if you don't know what you're doing. So you always gotta have a plan. But again, swing trading, again, it's dealing with these stocks that are oscillating continuously. You can make money on the upside, you can make money on the downside. When stocks are shooting up, you make money. When stocks are shooting down, you can make money. When stocks are not doing anything, they're just basically staying flat, you can make money. There's always a chance to make money in swing trading, but it takes a little bit more work. You gotta look at
some motorcycle gangs just to probably the Mongols or whatnot.
Probably the Mongols. So again, you got to put in the work. You got to look at the price charts, because the price charts tell you everything. No one's really been involved with the stocks. Nobody else besides my friend Chuck. Me and him have kind of been going through this journey together in a sense.
Yeah.
I kind of found out about this guy. Me and him both have had these. We both had these struggles early on, and we were trying to figure out how to make money because we weren't really making money, right? You're making money, then you're losing money so fast, and you're just really risky the whole time.
Yeah.
So I kind of got him involved, and I was showing him these charts, and it's pretty amazing that you can literally see that something so chaotic like stocks, like literally prices flying up and down, actually have some sort of pattern that they kind of fall back to, right? So like, it's kind of something so chaotic, you have like a little bit of control over it in a sense, that you can kind of have a good idea of what the stock's going to do by looking at the charts. Draw a couple lines. Again, I'm not going to get too far into it because I don't have a chart here to show.
Yeah.
But if you have questions, let me know. My thing is, there's a method to the madness in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not the only one that's looking at this chart and realizing that now is a good time to buy. Everybody's doing it, and even the big old companies with a lot of money, they have computers that are doing it automatically. So really, they're all kind of using this method. So when you buy, when the stock drops enough and you buy it there, it's going to go up because everybody's buying it there, right? But there's also not 100% chance that it works, right?
It's a risk.
It's always a risk. There's always a risk, and that's what this guy preaches to in the podcast, Ryan Mallory. He's always preaching that you got to limit your risk, because if you want to stay in the market for 30 years and be sustainable for 30 years, you got to make sure that when you make good money, that you keep it.
Don't lose it.
You don't want to lose it, right? Because you might, GameStop. We talked about GameStop. GameStop's been going crazy, so you might get rich off GameStop, and a lot of people got rich, but a lot more people lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of people lost a lot of money. So you can imagine, like today, I got into GameStop and I'm up all kinds of crazy money. And again, I think this is easy, and I get confident, and I want to do it again. And the next time I do it, maybe I even get lucky again, or maybe I just get crushed, right? And now, like, you've been doing this for maybe a year or so, and all these gains you made are now all gone.
Because you thought it was your expert or something.
Yeah.
Is it luck, you'd say, the GameStop thing, or was it like
GameStop? Yeah, GameStop's like a weird.
Or was it like the subreddit? Like they did it on purpose in a
Yeah.
sense to get back at the hedge funds or something like that? Or
Yeah, so GameStop's kind of this weird thing where, it was pretty awesome what happened. So if you're kind of familiar, a lot of people probably saw it on Twitter, but basically there's these hedge fund managers that are these basically really rich people that are betting that GameStop is gonna, tank, and they basically were betting on them to tank. So they were making money as GameStop stock was going down. And there was this group of kids or a group of people that went onto Reddit and formed a little subreddit, just like a little channel to talk in. And they're all like, you know what, we're going to F
Screw
these
these
hedge.
fools. Yeah.
Screw these fools. If we make this stock go up enough, they're going to lose all their money because they were betting it's going to go down. So when the stock goes up, they lose money. So they got enough followers and got enough people and got enough capital on their side that they literally made GameStop go way up so that these hedge fund managers can lose all their money, which is pretty badass because these guys have been screwing us for years. You know? So that's pretty cool. But then, you know, you hear these people getting rich because somebody bought GameStop at like $15 and now it's at $400 and something and they're probably getting really rich off of that. And we all start to hear that, and people that maybe don't really know much about investing
bought GameStop.
And just kind of like, yeah, I hear people getting rich, I'm going to buy GameStop. But if you buy GameStop at $400 and now it drops the next week to $40, like you've literally lost a ton of money. If you have $400 that you can kind of throw away, whatever. That's going to hurt, but it's not going to ruin your life.
Yeah.
But people are literally taking out loans. I read a story of some kid that heard what was going on, and he took out a $20,000 personal loan and put it on GameStop, lost 80% of his loan, and he probably already sold it. The craziest thing about GameStop is usually that's a one-time affair, but GameStop's actually coming back up right now. I would highly recommend not to buy into it, but you guys can do whatever you can, and if you do get into it, I want you to make money. I hope you make money, but just be safe on there.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are just really risky plays.
Yeah.
Because especially with GameStop, typically stocks don't move the way GameStop moves. There's so much action in GameStop that swings are like 100% to down 80% to, you know, they're like $100 swings, which is a lot of money in the stock world. And there's no way to manage the risk. I kind of go back to this managing the risk, which is what I kind of got from this one podcast I listened to. Because again, man, I'm making really good gains all year, and then I finally buy a GameStop, and then imagine I bought it at $400, and the next week it was at $40.
You just lost
At what point am I going to sell that stock? At what point am I going to stay in it? If I sold it at $40, I'm like, this sucks, I'm out of there. I literally lost all my gains for the year. You know what I mean? I lost them all. So yeah.
If you did that, you might as well just stay in there if it goes up, right? If you lost.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, what if it got from $400 to $200? Now you're down 50%, right? That's already half of your stuff. You're like, man, I gotta stop the bleeding, sell it. Because GameStop was $15 previous to this whole thing that happened, and now it went to $400. So you're like, is it gonna go back to 15? Is it gonna stay at 400? Typically, stocks will, if something like that. I mean, this is not like normal. So typically, stocks will kind of correct themselves eventually.
Drop.
Like I said, it went back to $40. So you probably thought the whole rush was over, but it's actually back up to like 200 and something bucks.
Oh, really?
So, I mean, again, good for those people that are making money, but it's just really hard to manage the risk there. So yeah, I mean, kind of going back to stocks, swing trading in general. Again, by looking at these charts, you have a good idea of what the stock can do. And with that being said, is you always got to manage the risk. Every trade I go into, I assume that I'm going to lose. I'm assuming that whatever I predict it to happen, by looking at the chart, because the history tells me that it's going to do this, I still got to assume that it's going to not happen.
It's not going to work.
So if a stock breaks this trend or this pattern that I'm following, if it were to break it, I'm instantly getting out of the trade. Some people don't like to do that, right? Because you might be like, oh, Tesla stock is going to go up, even if the chart says it's not going to go up, and you're just really involved and really intimate with your stocks. Like, you can't be that way with swing trading. Because if it breaks the chart, you got to get out of it, because maybe Tesla stock does break the pattern and I sell it and the next day it goes way up. I missed out on that one. But then who's to say the next time a stock does that and I'm like, well, it happened with Tesla, you know, where it broke this pattern that I was following and it, you know, went way up really high. What if this next stock that I'm holding, because I missed out on Tesla, the next stock I'm holding does the same thing, so I'm going to hold it a little bit longer, right? But then it breaks and I lose more money, right?
So it's best to stay the curve. If something like you're saying, it goes, what is the chart says, and it doesn't go if it goes down or up, just
you just gotta,
selling it, or what are you doing? When
you
say you break the line.
So again, so you can imagine a stock chart that goes, you know, like this, and it's going up, right? All these peaks and valleys typically fall in line with each other, which is actually kind of amazing. And I wish maybe I'll post some videos or something on it after the fact. But
Yeah, you should.
or you guys can hit me up and I'll teach you guys these things. But these valleys, they kind of all correlate to each other. So I'm telling you, like, they basically, if you really were to draw a line between all these valleys, the drops,
Yeah.
they will all hit the same line. And that line, if it worked in the March and then in April and then in June and July and September, October, it's probably going to work again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because every time it hits this line, it wants to bounce up, and that if you were to bite at the line and it has this big swing up, that's the time to get in. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, got it.
So when I'm buying these stocks and I see that it's going to approach this line and I buy it and it bounces up, I did good.
You sell it, or
If it bounces, so I buy it right at the line, so
Yeah.
I get into it,
Yeah.
and then once it finally makes its way up, then I'll start taking a profit. You know what I mean? Selling it for a profit.
Okay.
Um,
But say if when you bought it and then it goes down, instead of going up, you just get rid of it
you
right
sell
away.
it for a loss, but you want to make sure that it's not a big loss, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't cripple you for the next trade that you're going to
Trade.
make.
Gotcha.
Because you want to, again, stay sustainable, right?
So and then when you say when you buy it here and it goes up, you don't sell it. You keep it because you're trying to make money, or you.
Yeah, so I mean, by looking at the charts, I have a good idea of maybe how far the stock will go up. So if it does bounce off of that line, I call it a trend line. If it bounces off that trend line, I might have a good idea of how far it goes up. So I make sure I take some good profits along the way. So
Yeah.
you don't want to wait too long because eventually it's going to come back down to the trend line. That's
Yeah.
what happens. So you want to make sure you kind of get that full swing and then you pull it out there.
Gotcha. At the last minute.
Yeah, and again, maybe it sounds a little bit difficult and intimidating right now. Sit with
No,
me for a
I'm
couple
for sure
hours.
gonna hit you up, bring my laptop. And
Yeah,
everything.
and it's profitable. So again, with long-term investing, I mentioned it's 8 to 10% a year. Swing trading, if done right, on average can probably make you maybe like 25, 30, 40% a year. Who knows? You know,
Yeah.
something around that range, but definitely more than long-term investing. But it takes a little bit more work. But it's also not like day trading where I need to like sit in front of the computer
work
all
there.
day.
Yeah.
I usually do all my stuff at nighttime, and then basically the app that I use, it's like automates everything. So in the morning, it knows where to get into a stock, where to get out of a stock. So I told it what to do.
Uh-huh.
So that's it's
So you're sleeping making money.
kind of. I
You
can.
can.
Yeah. I mean, I get interested. I get notifications on my phone. I'm like, shit, I want to see what happened. Either I'm making money or I'm losing the money. You know,
Yeah.
I don't really know what's happening. But if it rings, I won't be like, oh, I want to, just because I'm curious. And so I'm always on the charts if I ever get break at work, when I'm working. But for the most part, you can kind of be a hands-off approach. At
Yeah.
night, you set everything up for the next day
For
to
the
happen.
morning.
Um,
Gotcha. When the market opens up.
Yeah, but again, it's worked for me, and it's a thing that people do. And the most important thing is you've got to realize that it's not going to happen overnight. You're still going to grow your money pretty slow.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the kind of gains that you made from GameStop if you got rich off GameStop. It's just not. It's not as quick as that because with GameStop you can't manage the risk. With swing trading you can manage the risk. Stay in the stock market for a long time.
Make
Just
some money.
over time, if you make 30% a year in 3 years, you're gonna have doubled or doubled your money.
Yeah.
Doubled your money in 3 years, which is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good.
So double your money as in like whatever you put in.
Mhm.
Since you put 200, then you get like 600.
Yep. If you put $200 in, then in 3 years you've
Or
always
400. I mean, my bad.
you get $400,
Double.
right? And yeah, I mean, with GameStop, if you're investing and you don't really know what you're doing and you're making like 100%, which is doubling your money, if you're making that really fast, just know that you can lose your money that fast too.
Yeah. You can make it and then you can lose it. Just
Yeah.
It's
So
not
yeah,
like gambling. Like you said, gambling. You could win, hit on blackjack. And
Yeah.
Hit. I mean, I haven't gambled because I don't trust myself.
Yeah.
Probably,
in gambling, like I said, gambling is just like, man, you're just putting all your faith in those cards. It's literally blind luck, right?
Yeah.
Blind luck. With swing trading, again, it's not always right, but you have a really good idea of what these stocks are going to do. You can find these trends, and I don't know. There's literally so many patterns people follow, and they have a better idea of what stock's going to do. Sometimes the stock chart looks ugly to me, and I'm just like, I'm going to stay away from it because I don't know how it's going to work. You know what I mean?
It's all mess.
I find the ones that look comfortable and that follow like the trend lines that I know how to trade,
Yeah.
and I stick with those for now. And eventually, I start to learn other things.
Gotcha.
But I feel like if you were just new to this and you have again some money to save, you can really find a little niche in swing trading. And even if you just stick with one little pattern, you'll find out that, man, this actually does work. Or
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Like I said, something so chaotic like stock markets where you have no idea what's happening. you can really have a little bit of control over it to
Okay.
just kind of control your fate and control your money. So it's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, hit me up.
Best thing to do, like you said, if you have money to save, extra
Yeah.
money aside, don't be trying to your paycheck and whatnot.
Yeah, don't be using your paycheck. 'Cause
You'll
again,
be here. Muno said to do this. I put my whole paycheck.
yeah, and yeah, I'm probably not explaining it. Yeah, definitely. And definitely don't take any advice and just go into it right after
away.
this podcast.
Yeah.
Hit me up because I'm probably not explaining it that well right
Yeah.
now. It's a little bit hard for me to explain this, especially without like a chart in front of me.
Showing the.
And I know more than you guys know probably
Yeah.
because I've been doing it. So I think that you know as much as me, but that's usually not how it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, hit me up. I mean, I've been getting on a little call with Chuck every Sundays, and we're just kind of planning what we're gonna do for the week, and that's
For
actually
the-
helped out. Where we're looking at the charts.
You just
And-
find out like to make like a little
Maybe-
stock group or something.
Maybe we'll make a little stock group. People that are
I
interested.
know. I mean, I don't know. Is that what Forex stuff is? The same shit or no?
So Forex is just like foreign. I mean, I think it's basically like foreign stocks. I think it's basically. I mean, I'm not actually sure. So I think it's basically like trading
Trade
stocks
stocks.
that are not U.S. stocks. But those stocks typically are a little bit harder to trade because they're a little bit more volatile, and then also too like if you're trading Chinese stocks, like their market opens at a different time than our market opens. So things are happening at different times than you could actually like
Yeah.
react to. So that's one thing to kind of stay away from. And then there's cryptocurrency.
Oh yeah, the Bitcoin and all that stuff.
Cryptocurrency, it's also a little bit tough to trade because again these are trading for 24 hours of the day. So again, you have to literally be like monitoring these things 24 hours a day. But they do follow the same kind of charts. You know,
Yeah.
They do follow these trend lines and the same patterns, and that also works because people are using those techniques in cryptocurrency or even forex.
Yeah.
But again, if you're just getting into trading and you're pretty new and you don't know a lot, trade regular stocks.
Small.
Don't trade options. Options are just a different kind of thing. They're just a lot more risky.
Yeah.
Again, if you don't know what you're doing, don't trade options. If you do know what you're doing, have at it, make your money.
Yeah.
But if you're just starting, stay away from that. And then Bitcoin and GameStop, like we talked before. So GameStop, I highly recommend.
Don't do it.
It's so volatile. Right now it's at $238. I think I checked the other day. And it might go up to $400. And if it goes to $400 and you're in that stock,
You made money.
you made money, get out of there.
That's it.
Good.
But
But there's a chance that it goes to $40. You know what I mean?
15 or whatever it was before.
I think on Friday I was watching the charts, and Friday, just because I'm curious, I'm not in GameStop, but I was just curious. And then it goes at $346, and 30 seconds later, dropped to $100. So even if you had $300 in there, you lost $100 in 30 seconds. If you had $1,000 in there, you lost a lot more money. Imagine people with $20,000 in there lost a lot of money.
Yeah. Damn.
But yeah, so very volatile. I kind of don't recommend going in there. But if you're in
Bitcoin,
there,
same thing.
so Bitcoin's not as volatile. So the thing with Bitcoin, Bitcoin has been going up so much. It was, again, a year ago, I think it was around $7,000 to get into Bitcoin. That's when the market crashed.
Yeah.
And now it's at $60,000. I checked right before this podcast. So again, somebody made a bank off of Bitcoin when they bought it at $7,000. Now they have $60,000. But if you were just to go in today and buy Bitcoin at $60,000 after it's already grown so much, who's to say that it doesn't fall off the top? You might make some money. You might go to 70,000. Might go to 100,000. Hopefully. But again, the whole purpose of swing trading and just my style of investing in general is managing the risk. When a stock is literally taken off so far, and you can't. Now you have no idea if this is going to drop or if it's going to go up anymore. It's just gone.
Yeah.
It's really hard to manage the risk on a trade like that. Again, I just would stay away because, again, it could fall off.
Yeah.
It could fall off a cliff. And I think I said this offline, but in 2017, Bitcoin had one of these crazy rises. So in 2017, they get like $19,000. And somebody bought it at $19,000 because whenever a price is there, I mean somebody bought it at that price. So it's 60,000, somebody
Some
bought it at
60.
60,000.
So that sets the tone, kind of.
So that's like basically the price, yeah.
Yeah.
The last person that bought it was 60,000 or 19,000 in 2017. But in 2017, Bitcoin went just a skyrocket, you know what I mean? and I think a month later it lost 70% of its value. So it went boop,
Drop.
came down. So if you bought it at 19,000,
lost a lot of money.
and all your friends, and there's a lot of social media influencers that are just like, don't sell, hold forever because they're going to go up eventually. A lot of people are saying that, and that's kind of a bad strategy. But imagine like you're believing all these people, and you bought it at 19,000, and now it's trading like at, I don't know, like $4,000, and you're hoping that it's going to get back to 19,000. Well, it hasn't got back to 19,000 since 2020.
With Bitcoin, isn't it at 60 though?
It's at 60
So
now.
if you stood in there, that
You
means
stood in there, yeah.
you got 60,000, right?
Which is yeah. I mean, if you're willing to hold your money that long, then yes. But
Yeah.
it also might not come back. I heard a story before of in 1999 they call it the dot-com bubble, where stocks basically just went straight up and then they came straight down. So I think Qualcomm, if you're familiar with Qualcomm, it's just like a tech
Sounds
company.
familiar.
So Qualcomm was trading at say $200. I don't really know what it was trading at. Somebody bought it at $200 and it dropped, and they lost like 75% of their shares also. And again, you can say hold it and hope it goes back up. What if it doesn't go back up?
Yeah.
So Qualcomm didn't reach those heights from 1999 until 2020. So can you imagine holding Qualcomm, because you don't want to take a loss, holding it for 20 years and not making $1 off of it? You follow me?
Yeah, I get it.
So
Hoover stood in it, made money, but that's a long time.
well, whoever stood in it made money, but I mean, you can imagine in those 20 years they could have been making a whole lot more money. Instead, their money was tied up for 20 years, and they just barely made money in 2020. So, so again, managing risk. If you see that stocks are sort of breaking these trends and you can get out early, you might come out with like a 3% loss versus a 75% loss. And then you kind of go tomorrow and you can keep
going.
Keep going.
Still have
Just,
money.
yeah.
You just gotta be smart with it.
Yeah, there's a ton of information. I tend to just blabber on about stocks. I probably will stop now. Ask me questions.
Hit him up on social media. Hit me up. I'll ask him. Maybe I'll try to get him to make a YouTube video explaining it, or if he has like a Sunday seminar with Chuck and he teaches it, I'll join it. He'll teach me, chalkboard or whatever.
Definitely, yeah. So I mean, again, I'm not the most advanced. I just feel like I've sort of, for just a couple of months that I was trading kind of sporadically and buying and selling things that I had no idea why I was doing it, and maybe I made a little bit of money and then lost a little bit of money, and maybe I came out on top. I just knew that I wasn't gonna be able to do that for the rest of my life, you know. And the goal is to not make money in my 20s. My goal is to make money in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, and then eventually have a lot of money at the end of my life, you know.
Just take a vacation or retire.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with that money, but something.
You can have a yacht.
Yeah.
Say Mundo Fan Club on it. But I appreciate the knowledge, brother, and it was fun, and hopefully we can do another video of you teaching us.
Yeah.
I want you to get
anytime.
Make a YouTube video, man. You did good on the camera. You did perfectly fine. So I mean, you could talk to the camera. So maybe give us a little breakdown, Mundo, whatever, fan club, whatever, taxes or something like that. But I appreciate you, man, and
appreciate it, dog.
Thank you, dog.
Thank
see
you
again. Yes,
anytime. Sir. Thanks for having me on Dolo Time.
You want to say anything to the?
You gonna do your little book real quick?
Yeah, you can do that shit.
Do it. You do it.
So he's gonna sponsor, and he's gonna join the challenge. I guess we'll do like on Twitter. People like to tweet or whatever, and we'll pick their names out of the hat, whatever. And read this book, Mind Gym. He's gonna read it, and then I already read it. So then we'll pick the winner. He'll give a gift card.
I have $25 gift card for anybody that reads that book.
And then we'll give him 3 weeks.
Yeah, give me 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, to finish the book.
A month to finish this book. He's gonna read it. Whoever gets picked, we'll read it.
We have another spot. If two people want to do it.
Two people want to do it. I'll get the other gift card. You got the other one, and we'll all discuss this book.
But yeah, so that's when you get the money though. Is if you read the book and you come on the podcast and discuss it with us.
Yeah, you have to come on the podcast.
I've never read the book, so I'm gonna have to do it also.
So I'll leave this book for you, and then I'll get the other book for the other person. It's not that expensive. So yeah, I'll tweet it, and then whoever likes it, we'll do a drawing. If they sit right here, and we'll all discuss it. Have another Dolo time.
Cool.
You got it?
Amen.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, man.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Dolo time out.